Kia ora, and welcome to Constellations and All That. I'm your host, Tracy Cartwright, and together we will be exploring the world of family constellations with facilitators and clients from around the world, looking at different perspectives and experiences in the work, having a cup of tea and just chatting with some friends around their experiences in constellations. We'd love for you to join us. I hope that you enjoy this series as much as I have loved making it. Kia ora, everyone. Welcome to Constellations and All That. Today is the 13th of January as I'm recording this, and I'm so excited to be chatting with this amazing, beautiful woman in front of me here today, Raquel Schlosser. Welcome, Raquel. Thank you so much for agreeing to be here with me today.
Thank you. And it's a pleasure. It's a really honor to be so far and so close at the same time.
Isn't technology amazing, isn't it? I'd love for you to introduce yourself to everyone. Just tell them a little bit about you, whatever's there for you, so that the listeners and the viewers, because this will also be on YouTube as well, can get a little hint of who you are.
I'm very far. I'm in Mexico and one day behind, by the way. Here it's like 4 o'clock or 3:30 of the 12th of January, and you have the 13th of January, right? Tuesday. So it's amazing what we can do on time. I'm Mexican. I'm a pioneer in Mexico of the family constellations, professional constellations. I have been honored and with a lot of gratitude in my life because I work in my passion, which is the constellation field. I developed when I was looking at the constellation field, I understood that it was so wide what was happening there that I started to find, beside my great master Hellinger, that I was for 10 years traveling with him. I was one of his close circle. I translated for him a lot of documents, books. There's one book that we were sitting in Palma de Mallorca, and there were very hard constellations. And that book, it was very nice. He says, Rachel weeping for her children. And in that one, he asked me to correct and to write things inside of the book. I said, no way. I mean, you did the constellations. I will not touch it, but I will write, edit notes to explain more, because I was already into the topic of the perspective and the dynamics between victims and perpetrators and domestic violence. And I was working with very hard situations in Mexico and abroad, with survivors of guerrilla, with people that were running away from political persecutions, with children and grandchildren of Nazis, or people that were third or fourth generation of the Civil War. So I started to specialize in how the social and cultural fields have their dialogue in our bodies, on our behavior, in our feelings. And I started to see that systemic is not enough, because this is not about interaction. This is about the big inheritance of the novels of other people talking and feeling. So sometimes it's not about the language. It's about what's not said, what was hidden, what was silent, and it comes out in a different language. So I made myself a translator of the hidden dynamics, sometimes not of love, but of the confusions of love, the jails of love, the closed doors of love.
The closed doors of love, exactly. Those are the ones that we don't recognize, right?
Exactly. We try to go through and we always get hit by them. they're transparent, but they exist. And sometimes, I trained many interesting groups. I trained groups here with the Ministry of Justice, from Domestic Violence Institute of Women, and I work with survivors. There was guerrilla like 80 years ago, so survivors
Of
of the
of
guerrilla,
oh, the guerrillas. Yeah, the
yes,
guerrilla
on the
military.
mountains,
Yeah.
yes, on the mountains. So I have a lot of experience in
Mm.
political pain, the pain that it calls for political reasons, cultural reasons, and gender perspective. No, gender violence reasons like abused children and abused women. So
Mm.
it's and then everyone asks me if I don't get depressed after what I work, and I say, no, 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 you can't imagine what is being in a field that you know that you can open hope. That's the
Mm.
most important thing. And they asked me, well, will they heal? I said, I'm not looking for healing. I'm looking for advancing and the conquer of more space for freedom, for free choice. So this is what I'm looking for. So maybe you are not ready to change everything, but you are ready to advance. Maybe you cannot look for, we are very contaminated by the psychology where every week you're looking for changes. Sometimes conscience has its own speed. So it's very important that you see what you see, you understand the multi-generational field, and one day you find yourself doing things differently. It is not cause effect. It is the conscience of peace is what we work in the Institute. I'm the head of and founder of the Institute of Transgenerational Studies. As I told you, I'm the pioneer. I didn't know really and didn't look for it. It became an information for me when I did it, but I'm the pioneer in the professional field on constellations. And I'm pioneer in many ways because we are not exchanging one diploma for one master degree. We really have all the system in a new career that we form when we have it in Mexico. It's called transgenerational psychology. So the
Wow.
people that come out of my institute, which is a very broad one because it's multidisciplinary, the people that go out from my institute, they go out as transgenerational psychologists. And
Wow.
we have 4 master degrees. One is in transgenerational psychology on family and couples. The other one, transgenerational psychology for organizations and institutions,
Hmm.
transgenerational psychology. The other one, which is amazing for health and psychogenealogy. And the first one has to do with a specialization, which is the first year of all of them. And it's amazing to have like all the different approaches
Yeah.
brought in a big career, and they can have different knowledge of this amazing field. I'm a psychologist for 45 years, 46
No
years,
way. Wow.
and in the transgenerational field, I'm already 30 years.
Wow.
And so that's amazing. Every Monday for the last 27 years, I'm here at the Institute. Every Monday from 5 to 9, I have workshop of constellations.
Wow.
And I'm so happy that I will be with you in April. Very happy. Before COVID, I traveled a lot. We export a lot. Also, knowledge was in Austria, Spain, Israel, where was I? Germany. in South America, Central America, and in many states of Mexico. And after COVID, all the world like
Mm.
stopped, and now we are starting again. So I am really honored that you invited me to your country and to share and to spend time and to see the marvelous society that you have built there.
Thank you. We're so excited that you're coming as well. So excited. I had the pleasure of meeting you in Mexico, and there's just so much radiance and knowledge, and I was just sitting there in awe of and listening to you. I could have listened to you for days and days. Yeah, really, really grateful that you've said yes to coming to our immersion in April this year. It's really cool. Let me jump into a question here. How did you first meet constellations? Because for me, I feel like constellations finds you, right? I think the field
Well,
finds you.
it's very interesting because I was not even thinking on that. I came to I was studying in a very interesting institute. They gave core energetics. A friend of mine calls me and said, they're going to be here with Ilse Kretschmer. She was the one that brought first the constellations into Mexico City. Ilse Kretschmer, very interesting because she had an institute and I was studying some diploma there. And they invited me to the group and I said, well, I'm a Mexican, but I'm a Jew and my father is an Auschwitz survivor. So the one thing that I don't want is to study with Germans. It was like very hard at the beginning. So, but I decided to go because I love to be in the first groups of everything. I studied with the first group of systemic and very entrepreneurs. First group of psychoanalysis that had to do with more with the social field. I was in a university that was just funded in the fourth generation. I was in that university with a very social vision. And so I said, well, let's see what it is. So when I saw the first time what they were working, I said, very interesting because I had separate my humanitarian and political work that
Hmm.
was I was one of the pioneers in sex education in Mexico also in an institution. We were 30 or 20 people doing it for a whole country. And I was in that group also. I was only 24 years old. And
Wow.
well, I think I like challenges in my life. So that was a big one. In a very Catholic country, starting sex education in institutions was a great thing then.
Yes.
Yeah, and going through prejudice and understanding what was happening in with the groups. So I was working also in NGOs. So I have a lot of grassroots information of what was happening in our country. I travel in all the countries. So I said it's when I saw what was happening in the field of constellations, I understood since the minute one that my professional work as systemic psychologist, my
Mm.
understanding of psychoanalysis, my experience in grassroots and NGOs with a social vision, and my gender perspective as a very open feminist, but gender perspective of what was happening of injustice in this world through violence in the families convinced me to be in this path.
Wow.
So I, during these 2 years, I didn't connect totally with the group because I had I connected very nicely, but I had my own agenda that had to do with human rights also. So once I finished the 2 years, I remember one day I woke up and I said to my husband, it was like that, I'm changing my life,
Wow.
my professional life. said, what? It's 7 o'clock in the morning. I said, yes, I'm changing because, I was innovator. So they hire me in the institutions to create new projects, to do new things. And
Mm.
I got international fundings for that. So I made a very interesting, very big soap opera, radio soap opera. In those days, it was not
Wow.
digital, it was radio soap opera. And I had a script writer and writers, and I had a crew of like 170 people. The project just finished, and I said to my husband, I close here my international path with, I had funding from UN,
Wow.
from UNICEF, from many, many international MacArthur Foundation path. I said, I'm going full time into family constellations. So it was very interesting because I had my NGO. So in the building that I lived before I was married, I had my neighbors that I was renting in, and they called me and they said, Raquel, we need to leave. They were from Spain. We need to travel back. I said, don't worry. I have a notary here. So I came that morning. He received me without an appointment. I said, I want to change the name of my NGO. And my NGO was Center of Research and Studies for Sexuality to Center of Family Constellations and Health. So
Wow.
I changed the NGO. I started to work, and it was not like what is today.
Yeah.
Do you know what it's calling to 100 people? I had a very, very big group of people. I've been working in institutions, in NGOs. So, and I was 30. My daughter was a year old. I was 39 or 40. So I had a lot of experience in groups before. So during the month, I called like 100 people, and I had like 8 coming to constellations. No? And next month the same, and next month the same, until it is what it is today. So I don't announce my Mondays. They're full always. I get cases. No one pays for coming to help. The only ones that pay is the ones that I'm working. I receive 6 people. We work. Sometimes I have 40 people coming, 30, 20. If it rains too much, 10. But for the last 27 years, I always have a group to work with people.
Wow.
So
Wow.
that's how it started. And then it was amazing how I met Bert Hellinger
Yes, that was my
because,
next question. How did you meet Bert Hellinger?
oh, I know, it was without planning. I started to see that in that group, the person who was giving it all the time repeated the same end, the same end, the same end. And I was very curious. So, internet, it was not like it is today. So what I did is my husband he was very organized. He went to sleep at 11. My daughter, my baby, she was less than 1 year old. She went to sleep one and a half, yes, 1.5 when I started to study. So she was maybe 2 years old. When I started to go every night at 11 o'clock, I sat in the internet looking for more information. For me, was not enough. What we were
Mm.
seeing, it was good, but not enough. Everything was in German. So I started to write to everyone, to everyone. Do you have information in English? Do you have information in English? So don't ask me how I came. It was a very private. I came to the private email of Susie Tucker, that
Yep.
was the editor of the first book in English in of Hellinger. She's in New York, and
Yep.
she writes me back and said, "How did you get my private email?" I answered, "I don't know. I don't know. I just writing to everyone." So she said, Harald Honen, which is a person that we have to honor in this field, was traveling
Sorry,
with Hellinger.
could you say that again?
Harald, Harald Honen.
Harris Honan. Okay.
Harald Honen, I will tell you why. He was traveling with Hellinger everywhere with his camera, and he was making
Film. Yeah.
videos of everything that Bert was teaching, every workshop around the world. So Harald was going to go to New York to open the East Coast for Hellinger for the next. He was first going to open. Susie was going to organize a workshop. So she tells me, why don't you come to the workshop? I said, are you crazy? I already did 2 years. I thought that I knew a lot. And then I called a friend of mine that I love her. And I said to her, you have some shit going on in your life. So why don't you go to this workshop? It will help you. And she calls me back and she said, why don't you come with me? I said, are you crazy? Who has money to go to New York for 4 days and back and forth? Said, I have an apartment for you in New York from a friend of mine, and you have points, to fly. We arranged everything. She came from Washington to New York. We went to the workshop. I get into the workshop and we are in the first round with Harald. And I said my name. And he says, what? Are you Raquel Schlosser? I said, what did I do wrong? He said, every place we get with Hellinger, they ask us if we have something in English because there's a Mexican all the time intensely asking for information. So you are the one. I said, yes, Harald, this is me. So he said, I have a present for you from Hellinger. We just came back from Chile. And this is the transcript of the workshop in Spanish on organizations in Chile. And this is the transcript of something else, somewhere else in Spanish. Here you have it. Boom. He gave me a booklet, very well organized. I said, I can't believe this is a treasure. This is through Harald that was traveling with Bert. Is how I met him, but I didn't mean. I mean, what happened is that when we finished the workshop, I said to her, I've been studying for 2 years and I never seen anything that what you did here. Every constellation was different. He said to
Yes.
me, because I'm traveling with Bert all the time, I see many different things. He's advancing all the time. And so I said to her, so why don't we sit and you come to teach in Mexico? So he always was laughing at me because he said to my groups, once Raquel wants something, it's impossible to say no. She offered me anything I wanted, anything I needed. So it is not an intensity, but it
Mm.
was the group. So we sat, we do it, da da da. And one day he asked me by if I have my curriculum. I said, yes, why? And because Bert wants to know who you are. So nice.
Mm.
It was not easy then, but don't ask me why. But I had just translated into English my curriculum in fax. Remember the faxes?
Yes. Yeah. Your
Okay. So I
CV, we
had,
would, yeah.
so I sent my 12 pages of just translated. I was a nerd, always learning, working. I had 2 jobs at the same time, plus patients, plus I had a lot of work. I loved what I do.
Mm.
So I had my days were of 29 days, not 29 hours. So a few sleep and a lot of passion. And so I sent it to him and I told him my project was to try to bring this word to underprivileged people because I understood it doesn't need not as charity, but as a project
Mm.
that will last long term and have an impact. So I had a design for that and I told you that 11 o'clock. to 1 o'clock in the morning. And at 7, I was already 6:45 waking up my girl to take her to school or to whatever, nursing school. And I receive an email from Bert. I will support your project. So he came to Mexico the first time. I didn't organize the first time, but he decided to spend his 2 free days with me and my family, which I was honored. He met my father and as an Auschwitz survivor, and I had the most impressive moment because, and let me see if I have the book here. I will show you in a minute. If I have the book here, I'll bring it to you. But it was amazing because I was sitting with Harald, me, it was my husband there, and Bert, my father, and suddenly I hear my father talking to Hellinger in German.
Mm.
I said, what? I see my father and said, do you speak German? He said, yes. That was my mother tongue with my mother. She spoke German better than Polish. And I said, I'm more than 40 and I never knew you speak German.
Wow.
Well, you can understand why.
Yeah.
It was a very touching moment. And Harald took us a picture of that moment, which is in a book for children that I wrote after going I was invited with Albrecht Marr for the Congress in the first big Congress that it was it was the second one in Germany. And before that, Harald told me, why don't we take your father to Auschwitz? I will cancel everything and take you.
Yeah.
So my father, his wife, me, Harald, and a Polish guy that spoke different languages, German also, went with us. And it was a very, very touching trip. On the way back, I kept on writing things about that Congress, what I was going to give in my speech in my conference. And it was amazing because just before I left, I had for the first time here, the second time, a constellation related to victims and perpetrators of the war of the Nazis. And it was an amazing experience. I saw what was happening with the representatives. So before they stood and they start to talk, I gave to each one a paper and asked them to write down what was going on. When they were in silent, they were all victims. And it was so amazing, because the first victim said that he was in silence, scared, but listening to the screaming of the third person that was there. And when I saw the paper of the third one, she was saying, I was screaming like hell because I was burning alive.
Wow.
So I had the testimony for me in a case study for me that this field is very powerful, brings a lot of information that was hidden, silent. And then I decided that this is my path of life. And that was the first conference that I gave there. Plus, all the reflections that I had, all the ideas coming back from Auschwitz to the Family Constellation Congress. I was the only Latin Mexican. They gave me very nice that invite me, but I had the last participation conference before the dance, before the opening, the closure with the dinner. So it was amazing for me because there were not many people. So it was good. It was the first time that I was going to give a conference in English in Germany, and my father was there. My father came with me to the conference. I talked, and the conference was from Auschwitz to family constellations. And I gave information about what I told you. And at the end, well, I was like, what's happening here? Because no one moved. I started to hear people crying. I cried everything before, so not to cry in the conference. So I was very professional. And when it ended, no one applauded because at the end I said, and it's a great honor for me that my father is alive and he is here. So they all stood and bowed to him. It was very impressive. So we went to the conference, to the dancing and to the buffet, was the dinner, was not the closure. And I get there. There were only like 30 people in the group, 40 maybe. But I didn't know that they were recording in those days with cassettes. They were recording all the conference. All the conferences were recording, and immediately an amazing company, you could go and get your cassette of the conference that just finished. Wow. Amazing work Albrecht Mark did. So I get to the dinner, and as Mexicans, we were on time. No, we were at 8 o'clock sharp. But Germans, when they get 8 o'clock sharp, that means 7:30. So we were the last ones. So there was no space for us. We ended up in an amazing place Hellinger made for us. We were sitting with him. No, he was chatting with my father. It was a very nice night. And I start to people get close to me to sign a cassette. I said, what's going on? So I think I signed like 100 cassettes of that conference. Wow. Yeah. And at the end, Albrecht Marr came to me and he said, I'm going to make the book from the, I think, 20 participations that have to do with peace. And so I would like you to give me your paper. You're going to be included in that book. I was writing with Insa Sparren and Matthias Varga von Kibet, and they were very interesting colleagues, colleagues. So I was.
Do you have the name of that book? What was the name of that
no,
one?
But I will send you the photograph. It's not a book. It's from the Congress, the memories of the Congress.
Okay, yep.
I will send them to you. I will photograph everything in case we can get it, and if not, I will try to make digital for you because I think it's in English. I don't know if it's in German or in English, but I have 2 copies of it. I will do it for you.
Thank you.
And so it was an amazing experience, very opening to victims and perpetrators dynamic with my own view, which includes social responsibility, which is very important. It is not a magical approach. It is not an approach that everyone is the same. It is an approach that it's very close to what Eva Mandelung wrote in a very interesting article, said the dignity of a victim is that he would take his responsibility, not that he is excused or pardoned, is that he will take his responsibility in order that it won't go to the further generations.
Is that for the victim or the perpetrator?
The perpetrator. The victim doesn't
you said
have
victim
responsibility.
at the start, so I was like,
Sorry. Thank you for the correction. Okay. Yeah. The perpetrator.
Yes. Yeah.
Has to recognize his responsibility. It's not the task of the victim to forgive. It's the task of the perpetrator to recognize his responsibility. And that is a whole, when you have grounded theories about it, then the method and the techniques of the method are aligned with the theory that you are working and with the vision of humankind that you have.
Because often in those situations, people you use the word humankind because often in those situations, the perpetrator becomes blurred and they become a monster and they become all of that, right? So when we remember the humanness in all of this as well.
Yes, but that doesn't prevent him from his responsibility. Innocent when you look the multi-generational, but you are responsible and guilty also of what you have done. If not,
Yes.
there's no stop. And you know, when you do it in the right way, the person that has been harmed and looks at it more than the feeling that comes out, but it comes out naturally by seeing the suffering behind. But that doesn't mean that it has the forgiveness. He needs to make his own work, which is responsibility. Because then you guarantee not you can we don't have a guarantee, but the possibility of transmitting the consequences
Mm.
are
Yeah.
less.
You create that space, isn't it? It's opening to something when they are able to own it. Can you
Exactly.
can we take a step back? I'm curious to know how was that for your dad? How was his experience or understanding of constellations, if you feel that you can speak in the conference in Auschwitz and
I will tell you an anecdote. He was not intellectual. He was a man of deep experience in his own way in life. But I will tell you one anecdote and it will be answered that question. Years after I was studying and years after he came with me with Bert Hellinger to that Congress specifically. And also, I organized many things here for Bert Hellinger and also a Congress in 2003 that was in Oaxaca. There was like 750 people. We were expecting 500. So yeah, I had a wonderful time with Bert. And I also in a big theater, I organized for him many things. And all the time, he was around my family. He loved to be around my family. So that time, my father had a stroke. Fortunately, he recovered because everything was very fast. He lost a little bit of movement of one side, but he recovered. But we didn't know if he was going to recover. So he was sleeping in intensive care, and I was by his bed. There were two magical moments there. One, I was crying and crying and crying by his bed. He was my best friend. I didn't want to lose him. We didn't know
mm,
how the damage was. So he was very practical. No, after what he went through, he was very practical. But in that moment, he sort of wakes up and he tells me, my mother is here to take me. He was not in the spiritual path, I have to tell. But I told her, you are not ready to become an orphan. I will
mm,
stay here as long as I need to be with you. He slept, and the next day he started to move his toe, and immediately he was taken to rehabilitation. And there was another magical moment there when he wakes up and he said, what you're doing is a good work. Bless Hellinger and tell him that he's doing a good job and send him my blessings and keep on doing what you're doing. And he went to sleep again. So now I can tell you what maybe he didn't understand the work itself. He never asked me of a big explanation, but he
mm,
was very connected. I was traveling with Bert like 4 times a year, sometimes five. I was all the time for 10 years related to him. I translated also the book, the piece Starts in the Family or something like that. I don't know in English what's the
yeah.
name. La Paz, no, in the Soul piece, Starts in the Soul. La
Oh,
Paz inicia en el alma in Spanish. and both have notes of my notes in both books. And I was with him all the time when he was discovering things and understanding more. And, he finished a constellation in Colombia, Nicaragua. I was with him in Mexico all the time. I traveled with him. I went to Spain, to Germany, to Venezuela, to anywhere where he was teaching, that he was translated to any language, to English, to or speaking in English, or
Yeah.
translate from English to Spanish. I was there. He started with Maria Sophie, this selling of Hellinger Ciencia. Then I maintained myself. He decided to split, and I decided to maintain myself in the academic field. And the institute become what you know now. I
Yeah.
started in 2005 the first career, and in 2010 I amplified to five more.
Wow. Okay. Wow. It's quite
A journey,
a journey.
life journey.
Yeah. I was like, wow. Because he my understanding was he spent a lot of time in South America, didn't he? In the different regions, and had a deep love for the country and countries. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
remember you telling us a story at the ISCA conference around something that your daughter had said to him that
Yes,
really
it
made
was
him
amazing.
go, wow. Yeah. Are you able to share that?
Oh, yes, I would love to. It's an amazing anecdote. I also wanted an education like I was living my life to my daughter. So I took her to a Montessori school. And when she was in fourth grade, yeah, she was like 10 years old. All the school had each student had to choose a person of the world that has given something and changed with something the world. So every child in that primary school. So I was I felt so nice. My daughter, it was a time that I was working with Institute of Women and training people, and she heard what I was doing. I never took her to a constellation. Of course, she was 10 years old. And so, and there's another anecdote that I will tell about her father. So I went, so she heard all the time. So she decided that she will be the director of the Bert Hellinger Institute, that she will be the founder. So she did all her work, she in the web, and she looked for information of Hellinger, what he did, and she asked me about the orders of love. So I explained the orders of love, everything. She had to give the conference and explain everything in her group. Each child had to do it.
Wow.
So she looks for everything, and one day she comes and she said, "I think I heard you talk about the movements of the soul. Also, it was the name that Hellinger in those times gave to victim and perpetrator dynamic." So I explained to her everything in her understanding. So it was the 10th of May. Bert comes to have dinner to my house late, and my daughter tells him, "For dessert, I will show you your work." So she brings all her things out and explained to Bert everything that she was talking about. And then Bert says, "Well, you know very well the orders of love, but can you explain me the movements of the soul?" And Daniela looks at him and she said, "Of course. Is when one bullet kills." Bert looks at me and she, "What? And how is it, Daniela?" "Yes, one bullet kills two.
One
Kills
bullet kills two people.
the
Yes.
body of the victim and the
Yes.
soul of the perpetrator.
Wow.
So Bert looks at me and I said, "Oh, I didn't tell her that. It's her synthesis." So Bert looks at Daniela and says, "You are the next generation of constellators." And Daniela looks at him and said, "Don't even think about my mother works like crazy." We were laughing. It was an amazing time. It was very nice. And was amazing. And
I
a
love
year
that
after,
story.
he decided to separate to do his things with the franchises. And yes, it's amazing. It's amazing. She remembers also, and it was amazing, amazing. No, 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 don't even think about my mother-in-law. She works like crazy. I will not work like her. So don't even think about me as a constellator here.
Yeah. Did she eventually come to some of your workshops to understand the work when she got older?
Yes, yes, very much. And also, it was very interesting because the next year, each one, it was there are two very nice anecdotes with her because, when you raise children with this open mind and
Mm.
open field, I remember we were traveling in Europe and we were in a restaurant, these small restaurants that it's very open, the
Yep.
place where you go to the bathroom, no? So she kept on sitting in a table and I was washing my hands, and a lady that spoke Spanish, she said, "Oh, are you Mexican?" "Yes, yes, yes." "And you are waiting for your mom?" "Yes, yes, yes." And she said, "Oh, and do you have siblings?" And she said, "Oh, yes, I have one." So I go out of my the bathroom. I sit with her. The ladies left. I said, "One sister?" She said, "Mommy, I cannot give the explanation to everyone about the configuration of my family. I have two half sisters, and I already know mathematics. So half it's and half is one enough information for them." And there was another one when the teacher decides to um, make the family trees of all the families. So they have to work on who, nothing to do with me. It was a work for all the children in her year. So she was like 11 or so. She comes and said, "Mommy, I have a great idea. Can we make a person and do her family tree and talk about?" I said, "What? Why?" Then, "Well, Mommy, you know, no one will understand our family. I have two half sisters. You are the second wife. I'm the third child. I have to explain too many things." I said, "Look, Mamale, today you think that all of them are the same. In 4 years, divorces will start, new marriages, and other things will happen. You will do your family tree. It's a very
It
interesting family tree."
is a very interesting. Yeah. Yeah.
So we did a family tree. It was very nice. And she comes back and said, "You were right." I said, "Why?" "Because there was one of my friends. I saw his family tree, and his father died not long ago, and it was not in the family tree. So I went out, took a leaf, and told him, maybe your father is in one of those leaves. So put your father here." So it helped him, Mommy. He felt better. It's very nice. So she also comes one day back from explaining what's family constellations, and she was the director of the Bert Hellinger Institute. She comes angry back home. I said, "What happened? Wasn't good?" "Mommy, of love are so simple. They didn't understand me. Why they didn't understand?" The teacher calls me and she said, "It's so advanced what she knows. Can you come and complete the knowledge?" I said, "Yes." So I was thinking, what will I do? What will I do? I went with small mirrors for
Mm.
the 30 children, and Daniela was my assistant. So I start to look at your face. This is your face. This is what you have. But behind, in that color of eyes, that it's maybe of your grandmother, maybe her story is there. So the children started to understand. And then they asked for Daniela, to Daniela. And Daniela asked me, why don't you show them my family? I said, that's a great idea. Representative of the first wife, the two half sisters, the father, me, the third child. And Daniela comes to me very quietly and she said, Mommy, the first daughter is dizzy. Stop the constellation. So I stopped the constellation very nicely. They understood. They were very happy. They was very nice. And in the afternoon comes Daniela and she said to me, Mommy, you are the weirdest job in my school. I said, why? One has a shop of books. The other one sells this. The other one is this. I said, Mommy, the three women that you have just talked about them, they were in my Mondays of constellations. So stop feeling that your mother is weird. No? And then it was very interesting because she didn't tell me anything, but her father comes in the night after the job, after work, and he said, why don't you call my sister and ask her how she feels? He said, why? She was a little bit dizzy in the constellation. So he calls her, and she had the Meniere syndrome, that you get dizzy, that you have to
Vertigo.
be vertigo,
Yep.
vertigo,
Vertigo.
exactly. Vertigo of Meniere. So it's very interesting what happens.
Don't you love it when kids recognize that you're doing something different and it's all of a sudden it's just
Well,
weird, Mum.
now she's 30 years old. Every time she has a very hard, she has a friend that has broke with and cannot stop after 3 weeks weeping from someone or 1 month. She said, I go and see my mom. Stop talking to me. Go and solve it. No, today is different, but it was 28 and a half years ago that I started constellations. She was 1.5 years old.
Yeah.
So today we have done a great job in every country. You are doing a great job in yours.
Thank you.
Doing all you can to expand. This is a very, when you know that every time you work with one person, so many people will change their lives. Maybe not the way they want, but they will give one step forward. And if it's two, it's great. And if it's five, it's great. And if they change, it's better. But one step forward is the only way to go through the very hard ways. You give
Exactly.
one
Yeah,
step at a time.
absolutely. And this work is such a good tool for that, isn't it? Such a good tool.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Beautiful stories, beautiful sharing. So you're coming to New Zealand in April, and you're also going to be traveling to Israel. You've got a few other things going on. Because I've got
Yes,
listeners and viewers from all around the world that listen to this podcast. So would you like to share a little bit about what else you've got on offer in case people want to come and
oh,
see
I
you in
just
another
keep.
country?
Oh, that's amazing. Thank you. I will be the 4th and 5th of May in Israel with Yael. I will send you the information of her website. And in Israel, I will work on relationships that hurt. And we will see the inheritance of the relationships that hurt. And we will see the multi-generational origin of that when you are in the first relationship bad and then the second relationship bad, you start to think that you are the one that is guilty. And maybe it's a repeated pattern from a dialogue with stories that come from behind that need to be updated because, you know, in the families and in the couples, there are contracts, hidden contracts. And, like in every contract, the small
Yeah.
letters are the most
Yeah.
important. And it's where the traps are. So we will be reading the small letters of
Mhm.
those contracts that really um, are painful in the relationships and repeated, no, as a pattern. That will be in Israel. And I will go to Argentina too. I was just with a very interesting group, the group that was from Pope Francis, and
Oh,
they are spiritual coaches, an amazing group of people. I will be training them um, with the Institute in working with couples in our model. And I was just there to teach them how to build the maps with our vision, the family maps. And there are more to come. We are maybe planning to go to Greece. We have to talk with them, and we have other countries to visit. And we are open now to travel wherever we can to bring this knowledge,
fantastic.
wherever we can.
Fantastic. Well, we'll put your contact details in the thread below and they can have a look at your website. It's most of it's in Spanish though, hey?
But today with AI, they can translate anything. It's very
That's true.
easy. And very soon we will do it in English also. We will have it because we're going more to the English speaking countries. In Israel, I will be speaking in English, but I speak Hebrew fluently. So I might drop here and there some phrases. I was very
Mm.
happy to talk with Yael in Hebrew. And so it's amazing what we can do together. And I really
Well,
thank you for the invitation.
you're welcome. Yeah. Yeah. I always follow the
It
pull of
was amazing.
the field and yeah, really grateful that you were able to follow and to say yes to our invitation as well. So thank you so much.
No, I
Thank you
didn't
for
even
being
think about. I moved, and I at the beginning I was like, oh, because they were the same dates, Israel and New Zealand, and then boom, Yael moved it to 1 week later, so it helped me a lot. I will be in
fantastic.
both. I will. It will be around the world, and I will be in airplanes around the world, getting because reading a lot. I like to read in the plane, so
Nice, nice. Wow.
it would be a pleasure
How
to be
lucky
with
is
you.
the world to have this ability to be able to, A, be online, but also to travel and to be able to share your knowledge
Oh
um
yes, amazing,
and you're so passionate.
amazing.
I love it. So passionate. Thank you so much for being here
I am.
and and I look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Thank you for you. Thank you to you.
Thank you for listening. Head over to Instagram and tell me what's resonated for you with this episode. You'll find me at tracy.cartwright. That's Tracy with no E, .cartwright. Or head over to my website, tracycartwright.co.nz, and receive a free audio with the gift from your ancestors. So until next time, be kind to yourself and have fun doing it.